This is the Lenovo Tab Plus, the most affordable tablet with an active pen for drawing that I could walk down to a local Best Buy and get right now. Coming in at a whopping $165 for a 128 gig storage with 8 gigs of RAM, this thing is cheap. Today I'm going to be focusing primarily on what it's like to draw with this tablet, but first, let's take a brief moment to go over the fundamentals, the build quality, what it's like for day-to-day use, and what this tablet is and is not capable of at its super cheap price point. Lenovo really nailed the fundamentals in terms of build quality on this tablet because it looks and feels far higher quality than it should given its low price point. It's made entirely of metal and glass, but also has some standout features that other low-end tablets include, such as expandable storage and a headphone jack. There is this strange hump on the back of the tablet that makes it a little awkward to hold in portrait mode. However, that hump allows for additional battery capacity, bigger speakers, and a built-in stand, which is super handy for taking notes. When first picking up this device, it's easy to mistake it for something 2 or 3 times the cost due to its high build quality, and the screen is pretty good too. It's a 2K 90Hz LCD display that has decent color representation. And overall, it makes this tablet a package that is really good for media consumption. In fact, I'd say that's this tablet's strongest suit, because the processor is really underpowered, and that's where Lenovo saved the most cost. The underpowered processor is good enough for video playback, music, audio, anything like that. But when it comes to high performance tasks, this tablet does lag behind the competition. When running Geekbench 6, I put it beside an iPad Pro. The iPad Pro crashed twice, needed to be fully reset, and then restart Geekbench 6 when this thing was about 3/4 of the way done, and still beat this tablet. What does that mean for actual usage though? Well, day to day in the user interface, this tablet sometimes can't keep up to its 90 Hz refresh rate, and there is slight stutters, especially when transitioning between bigger apps. However, we're focusing mainly on the drawing aspect of this tablet, so I'll get more into the performance later when it comes to that. But just keep in mind, if you are buying this tablet, its main purpose is definitely media consumption, again with those big speakers, good looking display, built-in stand. If you plan to game on this tablet, I would expect light games only. Speaking of more unfair comparisons with the iPad Pro, I put this Lenovo tablet side by side to test the speaker quality, since the speakers were being advertised as some of the best on the market. The iPad Pro has better clarity in the mid and high end, but the Lenovo tablet has more bass. Quick audio test, this little tiny Bluetooth speaker is better than any speaker on any tablet, phone, or laptop that I've ever used, so let's see how it compares with this Lenovo. Overall, everything you can see, hear, and touch on this tablet is remarkably good given that low price, just is a little underpowered in certain areas. For a while, I was left wondering how Lenovo got the price of this tablet so cheap until I started actually using it and found out there is an inexcusable amount of bloatware on this thing. It comes with so much bloatware that, okay, here. I actually took a video while I was setting it up with my phone. I was so annoyed by this thing. Check it out. I have been uninstalling bloatware for the last 10 minutes, and, it just keeps coming. No joke, this is the 4th solitaire app I've uninstalled. Viral Mahjong. Water sort puzzle. What the heck is Tide? I don't want that. Tide Pods. While I was setting up to film, I got a notification from an app called TabTop Pics, which is not in the app list, and I'm pretty sure that that is the app causing all this bloatware to install itself. So you can actually search for it in the settings, find it, and disable it. Huzzah! Hopefully no more bloatware will reinstall every update. Yeah, well, that crazy amount of bloatware and the low-end processor are definitely the two downsides to this tablet. And honestly, the bloatware is so bad, I was considering returning it and not even doing this review. But, well, here we are. Let's continue. Once the bloatware was removed, the device has actually been pretty decent to use. Yeah, sure, sometimes it stutters in transitions between apps and is a little slower to load things or render things on screen, but generally once you're in the app, once you're actually doing the thing, it runs pretty decently. One other reason I got this tablet is for running my business apps like Shopify Point of Sale, and for that it works pretty well. The cameras don't quite focus close enough to easily scan barcodes, however, if I do get it just right, it will scan them. That being said, I would prefer to use the external barcode scanner anyways. Here's a quick look at the camera quality, because this is somewhere that Lenovo definitely also cheaped out. Let's go. I just wanted to quickly share a video quality comparison between my Pixel 7a and this Lenovo Tab Plus. Really, it's not apples to apples, it's more like apples to pineapples. Same but different. We're looking at 4K versus 1080p, image stabilized versus no image stabilization, and HDR versus no HDR. So I don't suspect the video quality will be super comparable. At least the Lenovo looks better than a laptop webcam, right? Well, this is quite a tough time of day to film with this sort of camera because there's really strong lighting. It's quite late in the day, but that being said, what I can see looks better than a laptop webcam. Guess that's not really asking much. It'll get you by in a video call at least. There's still no image stabilization, no HDR, but there is tons of skin smoothing you can turn on if you want to look like super smooth. How about that front-facing camera? It looks like there's some image smoothing going on because this is not how smooth my face normally looks. What about if we look over there at the nature and cars? The parking lot. There's an airplane. Okay, so I've turned the skin smoothing off. That looks a lot better. Still, not the best video quality ever. No image stabilization and mwah! I realized while editing this video that I forgot to do a low light camera test, so here it is, under this terrible lighting. Support me directly by buying disc golf gear from my store, rarediscgolf.com. Since it's my shop, I get 100% of the profits. To sum up the physical characteristics of this tablet, it feels great, it looks great, it sounds great. But man, I'm torn because that bloatware is inexcusable. And you really have to uninstall it because this processor is not powerful enough to have much else running in the background. But you know what might solve this device is its drawing capabilities, so let's check that out now. Since for some reason you're all here to watch me draw, let's start with drawing some straight lines with a ruler. I've got this canvas separated into 3 different sections: drawing without pressure sensitivity and stabilization, drawing with pressure sensitivity but without stabilization, and drawing with both turned on. Yeah, that's not great. On a proper, dedicated drawing tablet, these would be straight lines. There's just too much wobble. What exactly does that mean for drawing though? Well, it's a little bit hard to quantify, but wobble like this directly translates into a sort of digital drawing feeling, where it's tough to get lines to connect because of slight variation in line placement, or a little bit of lag when pressing and removing the pen from the screen. On paper, with a good quality tool, the result is instantaneous and immediate and follows exactly where the pen is placed. Whereas on a drawing tablet like this with a little bit of lag and a little bit of wobble, it can be hard to connect the ends of lines together. For example, drawing a circle, it takes a couple tries to get it to close, and even then I'm still sometimes leaving little tails. The pen does allegedly support 4096 levels of pressure sensitivity, but that kind of reminds me of gaming mice, how they all have super high DPI, even the cheap ones, and the DPI or the pressure sensitivity levels doesn't tell the entire story. A pen like this with a little bit of lag and a little bit of delay, it's fine for handwriting and rough sketches, but the precision is where it falls short. For smaller documents though, there is very little pen lag, especially on a hard round pen. It follows pretty close when drawing quite quickly. That lag is introduced when switching to textured brushes or larger brushes. A textured pencil brush introduces some lag around 50 points, mostly from the low-end processor, I think. Then it becomes basically unusable at about 150 points. When I tried this on an iPad, the iPad could go a lot bigger before becoming unusable just due to that lag. My main concerns with a low-end processor like this is how it would handle higher resolutions, multi-layer and complex drawings, or even multitasking, drawing with another app running in the background. And it does pretty well for all of these things. To be clear, I did not do this drawing on Krita. I've been working on this on my desktop and I imported it to see how it would handle something with a little higher resolution and more layers. And thankfully, the added complexity of the document does not add additional lag to the brushes. However, there is pretty significant lag visible when hiding and showing complex layers, or especially during transformations. Moving complex objects around, but especially resizing where resampling is needed, causes the tablet to kind of jitter and lock up. It doesn't look pretty. But this is where I would expect the main speed difference when doing drawings on something like this versus a mid or high-end tablet processor. In these moments of stretching or shrinking a layer or anything that uses the GPU, that's definitely where this tablet goes a little bit slower. It does get the job done, but it is kind of a lazy boy. The drawing app actually makes a pretty big difference in terms of pen feel and line smoothness as well. Every drawing app has a stabilization or line smoothing, and I started out with Krita because it's free and I've used it on a desktop PC, but it is complicated and has tons of settings to tweak pressure sensitivity, brush type, and through all of those things it is possible to get something decent out of it. However, other drawing apps are a little easier to use, but upfront the experience can be kind of mixed. In the end, my favorite app on this tablet was Clip Studio Paint, where enabling stabilization or the brush smoothing, it does add some lag and makes it a little bit harder to connect line ends, but the lines look much less wobbly. CSP did have the best line smoothing by default, but Krita can get there with more tweaks, and some of the other apps I used had too much lag to be useful. As I mentioned earlier, one of my main concerns was drawing with other apps running in the background, such as YouTube, YouTube Music, Spotify, etc. This tablet does have a split screen mode, and thankfully it doesn't seem to affect pen performance significantly on that hard round brush, which means it is possible to listen to music or have a podcast or watch a video or have a reference up here in the corner while you are drawing, and that's a really good thing, especially considering how lazy this processor feels at times. It will do two things if you ask nicely. Because this tablet is so geared towards media consumption and the speakers sound good, I wanted to listen to music or watch a video or have something going on in the background using this device. I didn't necessarily have to use headphones. Concluding on the drawing segment, the main benefit of a tablet like this is as a companion device. On an iPad, I could see myself doing full art, from sketching to high quality, precise line art, coloring, shading, and texture. While it is possible to do all of that on the Lenovo tablet, I feel that the lower accuracy of the pen would make detailed and quality line art a little bit frustrating, as it can be difficult to draw a straight line or get the ends of lines to connect. Mainly that Wobble adds extra time in terms of extra undo and redo steps, or just a change in process like zooming in to get more precise lines, but all of those extra steps can be a little bit frustrating, especially for those who are used to working quickly or have very limited time to do art during the day. Also, that low-end processor might make adding additional textures and especially large textured brushes lag a little bit, which can be frustrating. So this is not a device I would recommend to professional or even amateur decent artists. Although artists are creative and able to work around the limitations of the devices they own, these limitations can get a little bit frustrating, especially when precision is required. New artists or those who just want to try it on the cheap might find a device like this as a good springboard, a good jumping off point in delving into the world of digital art. But I think that those people would be better served with a cheap graphics tablet, such as an XP Pen or a Huion. The main benefit of a device like this is how easy it is to open up. There's no plugging things in, there's no turning on a computer. Just whip it out, face unlock, and you're drawing pretty much immediately. Whereas with a Helio, it can be a little harder to motivate the actual action of sitting at a desk and having to draw in front of a computer, or even just awkwardly balancing a laptop on the armrest of a sofa. Some of my best drawings were done on a device that has lag like this, on a pen screen with such low accuracy. And to have this kind of input on a sub $200 device, I think that is remarkable. I did spend this segment kind of tearing this device apart and being critical of the line quality, but stepping back and looking at how much this device costs, with some tweaks to the brush, added stability, it's honestly remarkable that this thing can even do this. This entire device with its build quality, its screen, its kickstand, everything coming in at a total of under $200 is just wow. I am super impressed, but unfortunately I can't give this thing a firm recommendation because the quality of the pen input, especially when it comes to precision and accuracy, it's not quite there compared to some other higher end devices. I found it a little ridiculous how expensive the pen is, nearly 25% the cost of the entire tablet, so I bought a second one. This one comes from AliExpress, and it appears to be the same thing, just in a different packaging. It paired in the same way, has all the same features, and most importantly, pen pressure actually works. I think it's a genuine Lenovo product. The main difference is that this one costs 30 Canadian dollars less than buying it from Lenovo direct. I'll have a link to this pen in the description if you'd like to try the AliExpress one instead of buying from Lenovo. As always, in the end it comes down to the question of whether or not this device is worth it. Day-to-day performance is decidedly mid, and if you can afford something better, please do go that direction instead. However, for the price, this device is surprisingly competent, and also it's a good experience for consuming media, so if that's your primary purpose for a tablet, this is great for that, and the ability to do digital art is a bonus. Thanks for watching, I hope this video was helpful, and if you have any questions, feel free to leave them in the comments below. Like, share, subscribe, I'll see you in the next one.